All right, we're doing lesson 15-1 numerical patterns. Emma has $100 in her savings account. Jorge has $50 in his savings account. They each put $10 in their accounts at the end of each week. Complete the tables to see how much each of them has saved after 5 weeks. What patterns do you notice? So Emma starting with 100, Jorge starting with 50. They each put 10 into their account. So we're going to have our start value and we're going to add 10 as we go along. So let's get that done first. So starting with 100, then we would have 110, 120, 130, 140, and 150. Jorge starts with 50. He'll go on to have 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. And what can you say about these values? If you compare the values, so if we compare 110 and 60, 120 and 70, 130 and 80, 140 and 90, 150 and 100, and 150. We're going to say our Emma will always have, $50 more than Jorge. Okay. If the savings pattern continues, will Jorge ever have as much as Emma? And no, because she'll always have $50 more. So on the next page, Lindsay. Hang on. Here we go. Lindsay has a sage plant that is 3.5 inches tall. She also has a rosemary plant that is 5.2 inches tall. Both plants grow 1.5 inches taller each week. How tall will the plants be after 5 weeks? So we can put that in a table. And the rule is add 1.5. So you can see we've had the sage plant data and the rosemary plant data. So our starting from the first pairs, 2.5 and 5.2, we can always say that the rosemary plant is always going to be 1.7 inches taller than the sage plant. And the way I figure that out is I just do simple subtraction. Remember, I've got to regroup here. And you can do that with any pair. So you could take, just say week 3. 9.7 minus 8.0 is 1.7. So if you compare the data across, you're going to find the constant is always going to be a 1.7 inch difference. And you can always say that the rosemary plant is always going to be 1.7 inches taller than the sage plant. It's a general statement. Right now into the guided practice, Anthony says the pattern is that the sage plant is always 1.7 inches shorter than the rosemary plant. And you can say it in the reverse too. So you could say that, yes, you can say that. So you have to make sure you're always using the right order and the right values. So yes, rosemary plant is always 1.7 inches taller. Then you could say the sage plant is always 1.7 inches shorter. So you can say it either way. How does making tables help you identify relationships between terms and patterns? You can line up your terms and compare them easily. Terms, better spell that right. If the plants continue to grow 1.5 inches each week, how tall will each plant be after 10 weeks? So after 10 weeks, the sage plant, which started out as, the sage plant started out as 3.5, and we're adding 1.5 times so let's see. Yeah, so we have to add it to times 10. And the rosemary, 2 spices I have in my spice garden, starts at 5.2, and we're going to add 1.5 times 10 for that plant. And so we wind up with 3.5 plus 15 equals 18.5, and 5.2 plus 15 equals 20.2. If the plants continue to grow 1.5 inches each week, how tall will each plant be after 15 weeks? So we can take what we already have up here in our equation, and we can just add another 5 weeks to it, or we could just say 1.5 times 15 and 5.2 plus 1.5 times 15, and we wind up with 3.5 plus 1.5 times 15. So this one will be 26 inches, and this one is 27.7 inches. And you can do that measuring or multiplying off to the side. Two digits decimal place value in the problem, 1 digit in decimal place value in the problem, 1 in the answer. So the first one would be 22.5 plus 3.5 equals 26. And the second would be, you can use this value again, 5.2 plus 22.5 equals 27.7. There you go.